Right, hello folks, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at how to design a lightsaber. So today I'm going to show you the very simple way of getting the handle of it down, and then possibly in this video, if you've got time, or in the next video, we'll go into the details and the buttons and how we can put those extra bits in that make it really pop. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at my front plane, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the profile of the handle of my lightsaber, and I'm going to sketch half of it. So I'll drop a link to the image that I'm following in the comments, in the description, and hopefully you can find your own lightsaber that you like and do this to your own. So, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a large vertical line, sketch on the front plane, draw a large vertical line from the origin straight up. Okay, and I'm just going to trim that there. So I'm starting right at the origin. Okay, next. I'm just going to sketch half the profile of that handle. So I'll start with the guard. I can see on my design it goes across a little bit, up a little bit, just using the line tool, and I might use the arc tool in a short while. But I'm just tracing and just looking at what I think this design does or looks like. And I think for the guard, that's about it. So that's the bit on the end, stop your hand slipping off the handle. Then we've got the handle, and that's a large straight bit that goes up. This is where you're going to grasp it. I'm going to add some detail to that shortly. Um, After the handle, I can see, oh, mine comes out a little bit. And this is where it goes onto the turn metal bit. It goes out a little bit, it goes up a little bit, comes back in. I'm just going to snap that using the dotted line. So go back and just draw my line up so I know it's in line. Up a little bit more. No, it's got a diagonal line. Goes up a little bit more. Diagonal line again. I can make those equal shortly. Up a little bit more. Diagonal line again. A little bit more. And then I've got the actual bit where the lightsaber comes out. So for this, I'm just going to use my tangent arc. I'm just going to draw an arc that looks something like this. And then draw a straight line back to my center line. Okay, so I've got something that looks a little bit like this. And now we need to add dimensions, just to make sure that not so much, unless you want to 3D print it, not so much that it's in scale to anything else, but that it's in scale to itself. So the grip, the main grip, I reckon that wants to be about 150, 15 centimeters long. And if you've put your first dimension in, it should scale the whole sketch. So we're on the right lines there. The handle, I reckon, should be, in total, it should be about 50 mil across, so 5 centimeters. Because I'm only drawing this from the halfway line, I want to make sure that's about 25. And I'm hoping it buffs everything out with it, which it sort of did a little bit. Right, okay. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to trim the top. And we're going to do not a circular pattern, we're going to do a revolve. So we can see what this actually looks like at the minute once I turn this profile into a cylindrical structure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my revolve tool, which is right next to the extrude tool. It should already, as long as I've got a closed shape, it should already highlight this profile. And all I need to do then is click on where it says revolve axis in this red field and click on my center line that I drew right at the start. Just like that, it turns it into what's already looking like sort of lightsaber product. So I'm reasonably happy with that at the minute. We've absolutely flown through that, so I reckon we do have time to add some features on it. The first thing I'm going to add is the grip. So I'm going to do a sketch on my front plane, and I'm going to do some vertical, almost like rubber tacky bands that go down that are going to be repeated all around the shape. So on my front plane, I'm going to draw uh, I'm going to draw a center point rectangle, I think, and this will enable me to snap to the center really, really easily. I'm going to make sure that that is Should we try 5? Let's try 10 away from the base for the bottom line and 10 away from the top of this section for the top line. And how wide do we want it? What is it at the minute? It's 2. Probably should we try 5? See what that looks like. Try 8. Yeah, I'm happy with 8. I think that looks quite cool. And then I'm just going to fillet those edges. So with my sketch fillet tool, I'm just going to put a little curve on these. Make the radius 4. So it rounds it off nicely. Click away from it. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to extrude it. I'm going to turn it into a new part because it is going to look like a different piece of material. I'm just going to extrude it so it just sits proud of that a little bit. So let's go. What does 28 look like? I think 28 is fine for the bit that I've done. It just sits proud that little way. What I can do then, I can click on it, I can fillet it. I'm going to fillet it by 3. So I've got this part sitting proud of my grip. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on my transform tool, or this tool at the top. Oh, not my transform tool. What is it we want? It's our linear pattern tool. And you're just going to go down to circular pattern tool. It's going to default to part pattern, and because we made a new part, we should just be able to click on this straight away. And the point we're going to pattern, so we're going to go, instead of axis, we're going to click on this little Pac-Man symbol at the side. We're going to click right on our origin. And what you want to make sure is when you click on the origin, in fact, I'll just do that again so you can see, click on my part. When you click on your origin, select my selector, you want to make sure that you see that blue line, that is going up or down, it's not going out to the side. It should do it automatically on this, but because you've not got a line, you just got a point, sometimes it can try and revolve your part around different axes. So make sure that blue line is going up or down, not side to side. And it defaults to 4. So I've got 4 bits of my grip now repeated around the origin, around that center line. I'm going to change this to 10 to see what that looks like. I think that looks good. So when I've got the right number of grips I want, you might want to go more or less. I'm going to click on my tick, and now I've started to get my grips in. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make an on button. I'm going to do this on this central plane. So the first thing I'm going to do, again, I'm going to click on my front plane. I'm going to draw a sketch in the middle of this section. I'm going to do a center point rectangle, and this is using that center line again. I'm just going to make a square that looks something like this. Or a rectangle, I'm going to dimension it. Let's go 8 from the top and 8 from the bottom. Let's have a nice round number. Oh, we'll show 25. Oh, 25. Yeah, so it's reasonably square. It doesn't need to be exact. Might just put a tiny fillet on each of these corners just to make it a little less sharp and a lot more realistic. Because in reality, if it's made out of metal, everything's going to have a slight fillet on the corners, even if it's just 1 mil. And I'm then going to extrude that. Oh, ow. I could make it into a new part. I think I am going to make it into a new part. Possibly don't quite want it that much, but I want it sticking out more than my grips did. So let's try 36. I think that's fine. Oh, maybe we'll go 40. I'm going to put a 1 mil fillet on the top there. In fact, before I do that, I'm going to shell this. Am I going to shell it? No, I'm not going to shell it. No, oh, I think that'll lead to difficulty. I am going to shell it. See what this looks like. If I shell it by 3 mil. No, I'm not going to do that. I don't think that's going to look as good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to straight off fillet the top just by 1 mil, and then I'm going to put my button on. So the way I'm going to put my button on is inside this box. I'm just going to draw a circle. And again, I can use center lines for that. If I use the center point of the base and the center point of the edge and just hover over each of those, just draw out, you'll see that they snap to each other and I get the exact center without doing any measuring. I'm going to put my button in there. I'm going to extrude it by, let's try 5 to start with. Yeah, 5 might be good. And then I'm going to fillet the edge. I'm going to put quite a big fillet on this top bit. Let's go 3 mil. And I'm going to make that out of a new part. If I just go back to the extrude of that circle and I click new, that should carry the fillet back. And I've got my on button there. Okay, what else can we do? Let's have a look. In fact, I'm just looking at some other lightsabers and I can see that the top is actually a little bit different. So if you want, I'm not going to do this, but if you want, you can go ahead and you can mess about with the top design. Lots of them have we call them stepper bar like shapes. They sort of start. It goes right at the top. It sort of goes quite thin. Then it goes a bit wider. Then a bit wider, almost like an inverted pyramid, but in cylindrical form. You can have a go at doing that. I'm just having a look at some of the lightsabers to see what else we could do. What I am going to do is I'm just going to put some more circular patterns on some of these flats, or some of these, I say flat surfaces, these plain cylindrical surfaces, just so it looks a bit more interesting. So on this one, I'm going to do a sketch, and um, I'm going to do a circle here. So I'm going to go up. I'm going to draw my circle. I'm going to make sure it's the same. In fact, let's see how wide. Oh, I can't do a dimension there. Maybe in fact, if we project this line here, we'll be able to grab a dimension for it, which is about 24. So I know that to put this in the center of the circle needs to be pretty much 12 away. Okay, then I'm going to do an extrude. Look at my right plane. And again, it's just going to sit a little bit proud of the surface of my design. Let's make it a nice round 34. Click it. And what I'm going to do now, just to make it look a bit different, I'm going to put a chamfer on it. And that's just going to put this little stud in there to enable me to circular pattern that. And it looks a bit small, so I'm going to go back into my original circle sketch. And I'm going to change the diameter to 10. In fact, I could go 12 actually. See if that's any better. There we go. That was quite nice. I could even probably go bigger. What about 18? Let's try that, see what that looks like. What I'm going to do now, I quite like that. I'm going to keep it as 18. I know we're sort of eyeballing this and doing this as we go along. This is what I want you to do because this means that you get your customized ideal lightsaber design, and this is all about doing a design and me showing you how to do that. So chamfer, I'm just going to double click, go back into that. What happens if we change that to 5? 4. Let's keep it as 4. Right, I quite like that feature. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to circular pattern. Where it says part pattern here, because it is the same part as the metal, I've not made a new part. I'm going to click feature instead of part pattern. And the feature I'm going to pattern is, first of all, my extrude, and second of all, my chamfer. And the axis, again, is going to be my origin. Or you can click any circle which is around the same axis. So because I know this is a circle around this axis, if I click on this circle, you should see it mirrors the same. And again, I'm gonna let's see what 10 looks like. So I might do 8 this time. I did 10 last time. Okay. So I've got these sort of studs there. And how long have we got left? Not long. I'm going to leave it there for today, guys, and hopefully in the next video we're going to finish it off and add some finishing touches. Thank you.